That's it. And that will now surely be that. Six-point gap for safety. Trims down to 5. As it ends 0-0.
Well, that was that, wasn't it? The final score to a cascade of boos. Watford just awful today against Plymouth Argyle, the team that are bottom of the championship. The final score was Watford 0, Plymouth 0. And we have just come, for those of you on X now, and thank you for joining us on YouTube as well. Watford 0, Plymouth Argyle 0, the final score to a chorus of boos at Vicarage Road today. This is a very good point for a Plymouth side that is going to get relegated. Let's be fair. Plymouth Argyle are going to go down this season. I think the fans of Plymouth know that. Very clearly that the side is going to head down to Division 3, the League 1. And Watford today just got progressively worse, if you can call it that, in the second half. Now, you would have thought that when you put on the likes of a Quadro Bar, that you would have seen something. Quadro Bar was not the issue today. Jeremy Ngakia was not the issue today. And quite frankly, nor was Caleb Wiley. Caleb Wiley, I thought, did decently. But it was the team as a whole. They just weren't consistent enough. They weren't switched on. They weren't urgent enough. They did not finish. And Bio was the biggest culprit. He just did not get the job done. And it's not all Bio, but my goodness, man, you only get a few chances to score in every game. And when you're at home, you've got to put them chances away. We've said this about Bio for a million years. He had a million chances, and he couldn't put one of them in the back of the net. I mean, if you put Doumbia in that position, and I know Doumbia has not scored a goal for us yet, but you put Doumbia in that position, he scores one of them 3 or 4 chances that you just got. How many chances has Bio got to be given to put a ball in the back of the net? I mean, everybody did their part, but they didn't play well enough for a sustained enough period of time, and you got what you got. How often are we going to see this against these sides at the bottom level of the table? The bottom 6 teams, we just have a hell of a time trying to beat them, and we just do not beat them. Plymouth was the latest one today. This is very reminiscent in some ways of the game last season with Val Ishmael in charge, when we just tried everything against the Plymouth side back then. And it was 0-0 in that game as well. But this is a very different Plymouth side from that one last season, because that one had a bit more talent in it. This one has much less. I'm shuddering to think of how Watford could not put the ball in the back of the net today. Just not enough football for me that looked inspired, looked energetic. I'm going to take your requests on X. Those of you on YouTube, say hello as well. The first person to have a say on this, and I know it's the international break that's gone. I don't want to hear the excuse that the international break was the issue, because every one of these teams are on international break as well. David is going to come first for us today with his views, and then anybody else would like to join him, you're more than welcome to do so here on the You Orns post-match. Welcome aboard, Watford supporters everywhere. My name is Omar. It's a great pleasure to have you aboard. And for those of you on YouTube, welcome aboard as well. David, it's your turn on You Orns Watford FC post-match. Greetings and greetings to you, David.
Hi, Omar.
Hello there.
Obviously very disappointing. I think I slightly disagree in terms of the second half. I think we definitely got a response. We should win the game. We should just move on from a pretty horrendous first half that we put out there. And I think you're absolutely bang on, though, in terms of the urgency. And we're not really learning much new at the minute. We play a team towards the bottom of the table, and we make real hard work of it. And we, as you say, urgency, I think, is the word for that. We just don't move the ball quick enough. And when they sit in deep, we just don't. We get up to the last third, and that's it. We lack a cutting edge. And as soon as Bar comes on, within 2 minutes, we've done more in those 2 minutes than the whole game up to that point. And ultimately, we just need to put one of those chances away. And then, it's a bit of a different story how we feel about it. But Look, we've not got a good striker. That's pretty clear. I think Butter had a good game. So yeah, Chapmatadze for me was really disappointing today. Just don't think he got a hold of the game, and his touch wasn't quite the usual forward thinking self. But yeah, I think it probably sums it up that our two most talented players just weren't really at the races, particularly in the first half. Yeah, it's a pretty shoddy result given what Plymouth were offering.
I think you're right, David. And yeah, probably I was a little bit too rough on the second half performance because, yes, it was better than the first half. But that really, for me, is only down to one or two players. And one of them is Barr, who was electrifying as he has been. We missed him badly over these last 3 months. The bottom line, David, is as you said and as I've said, the urgency isn't there and the quality isn't there. How many times did we not beat the first man there in the last 10 minutes? When we had to get something out of this game, how can you not beat the first man off the corner? How many times? It's just been really poor. And against a side that's bottom of the table, this is quite shambolic for me. David, I know what you're saying. We improved second half, but we do this every week. And you know that as well as anyone listening. We always do this. We have these poor first halves in a lot of these games, and then we have to do hell bent for leather material in the second half. And when you have to keep doing this kind of thing just to get something out of the game, it tells me one of two things, David. One, you're just not good enough. And two, look, the bottom line is we just don't have the quality. And of course, we can point at the owner and we can do all of that. But with what we got here, not good enough. Bio missing a million chances. I tell you, I wonder if Daniel Jebison would have scored some of these. I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have. Oh dear, David, this has been a real mess today. Anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, well, we completely waste the first 45 minutes. And it's not the first time. As I say, we're not really learning anything new. But yeah, it's not like we're particularly awful getting into the last third. But yeah, you can just see on the right-hand side in the first half, we've got no real threat. I mean, Ryan Andrews, I've mentioned it numerous times, but it needs mentioning. He's not cutting it at this level at the minute, and he's not developing as we want him to. And then obviously you've got Sissoko in front of him. So, we just have nothing down the right-hand side. And you can see so quickly, just in terms of a couple of personnel, they just come on and completely change everything. And yeah, it's not a massive surprise that we're not going to be scoring many goals when you have effectively no threat whatsoever in certain areas. And obviously, yeah, you got no one to finish them off either. It's not exactly a shock. That's where we're at the minute. Because I thought our left-hand side was actually very bright, and even in the first half, they were the real threat. Vata, I think, as I say, makes things happen. We know we can actually be a really exciting team when we get flowing, but yeah, it's too little, too late, and it's the same patterns that's cost us again.
Absolutely, David. Well said. Thank you very much indeed, David, for your comments.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. And that was David there with his remarks, and spot on. And David is a regular contributor, makes a lot of points that I think resonate very well. And you can join David on X and hit that microphone, won't you please? And if you're on YouTube, we've got a comment to read out there. Please continue to comment and give your views. I think the thing that you take out of what you saw today at this game is that this team does not have, in my view, the wherewithal to go forward consistently and put a scare into any opposition. If we ever got, and we're not going to get to the playoffs, but if we ever were by some miracle to get there, we would be knocked out easily in the first stage of the playoffs. So we would not get anywhere near any playoff at all beyond that, because you just see the composition of what we do. We are so unbalanced, so uneven. And I know there's the injuries, but this is even before the injuries. If you want to make a case to anyone in the building listening here that this is about the fact that we've got a depleted squad. That's very clear. It's been a thin squad all season. It's been a thin squad for 3 or 4 years. But at some point, the thin squad part has to be dismissed, I think. And what you've got to start looking at is what can you get out of the personnel here? Now, Tom Cleverley has made the most of what he is able to make out of the personnel that he's got. At some point, it's up to those lads on the pitch to make the most of any game and the opportunities that presents itself from that game. And Plymouth Argyle was an excellent opportunity today. And I don't think it was a case of these lads thought we'd just roll up and turn this lot over. I don't think that was the case today. I think the case is that Watford just believed that they could turn up the volume whenever they felt like it. And quite frankly, the manager has to do that with the subs. Now, today, Tom Cleverley got those subs correct. I had no problem with him bringing on Barr or went around 61, 62 minutes. That's about right. He should have done that with Vatter a couple of weeks ago. We all know that. That's old hat now. So that's not the issue. The manager did what he had to do to try to affect that game. He put Messiah Edwards on, who's a very bright, lively lad. Maybe he could have put him on a few minutes earlier, but I thought that sub was right to bring Messiah Edwards on. And Bio, pardon me, should have been off the pitch as soon as he missed the first opportunity that he missed. I mean, apart from that, I think Tom Cleverley got everything right. But at some point, you've got to look to those lads on the pitch to try to change the equation and the balance. We can talk about thin squads, and you know I have, if you listen to this long enough. I've said all season about how the squad's thin. In some ways, I give that, it's like giving the lads on the pitch a pass. You can't give them a pass for this. It's about what you've got and getting what you can out of what you have. And as far as I'm concerned, that comes down to leadership on the pitch as well. If the manager's trying to change things up as he did today, with Quadro Bar, who I thought was brilliant. We missed him for 3 months pretty much. We really did. It was almost 3 months that he was out, or if not more. And, he did what he could with Bob bringing him on. The question becomes, where's the leadership on the pitch with the present group of lads that you got? And today I didn't see much from Loser. I didn't see much at all from Loser. I didn't see much at all from Sissoko. I didn't. Where was the leadership on the pitch? Didn't see it. But I tell you, there were lads who took the initiative on that pitch. Vata, Barr, Caleb Wiley, and Gakia. I saw those guys playing with example, leading by example. Matty Pollock had to go, defensively. But generally speaking, as a team, where were the leaders? I didn't see it. Did you see it? Can you tell me where the leaders were? On YouTube, Brown Electron says, "Hey, Omar, much better the second half. Bio is dog's dinner, and the youngster up front did more in 20 minutes than Bio." Yeah, Brown's correct on YouTube. Thank you, Brown, for your comments. I know you made those comments about 10 or 15 minutes ago. But the bottom line is, and I'm sorry that I only just got to reading it now. I should have read it out earlier. Bottom line is that Brown's correct. You've got people who come in onto the pitch as subs who have got a lot more passion and energy. They play like they've got nothing to lose. And Gakia came on there. I didn't think he started. I remember him starting the game today in Gakia. But my goodness, he was so much better than Ryan Andrews was. I don't know. Ryan Andrews seems to be going through the motions. A lot of this season for him has been very disappointing. You've got, the likes of Loser, who can be a world beater on days and then completely disappear on others. And then TDB was disappointing again. How many times did I see him make a pass that didn't get more than 3 yards before it was picked off? TDB's been hiding for the last few weeks, and nobody's really been calling that out. TDB was poor. And let's call that as it is. No, I found a TDB. I got one of his shirts. But he was poor today. It's not going to get it done. So you and I can sit here, fellow Watford supporters, and talk about, thin squads all we want. And we can talk about the owner, and yeah, he's culpable. But I'm sorry, the owner's not playing on the pitch. It's these 11 lads. It's these 11 lads. Let's be fair about it. Let's be honest about that. Let's be honest. Let's be fair. It's these 11 lads on the pitch. And the manager is trying to get a tune out of them. He's done a blooming good job, Tom Cleverley, this season. Yes, I've faulted on a small few number of occasions. The times where he hasn't got it right with the tactics, with the starting lineup, or with the subs. And that's been maybe 5 games all season for me, at least. One of them was the last time out 2 weeks ago. But the man did try. He did put the sub on at the right time. He brought Barr in at 60 minutes. You can't complain. It's not the manager. You know, you've got to look at these players. And what are they playing for? See, here's my thing that I would ask any Watford supporter listening to this, either live or listening to this on replay, or watching this live or watching on YouTube on replay. What are these lads playing for? Obviously, it's a salary they're playing for, but knowing where they are on the table, and currently now, before these games kick off, we're in 9th. That's going to probably, I would say, change, where we could actually go down a place or 2 more than that. But we're in 9th presently before these games kick off, right? Or as they're about to kick off soon. I think it's at the top of the hour. I think in the UK, you put your clocks forward 1 hour tonight. So don't forget to do that. I believe it's tonight for you lot. But the bottom line is, because we've had our clocks forward here in the US for about 3 weeks. But the bottom line is, I would ask any Watford supporter listening to this and watching this now or later to ask themselves, what are these lads playing for? You got 9 games left, right? 9 games left, whatever it is, 7 games left, right? You've got these teams that we were supposed to be beating, right? We were supposed to beat Oxford. We were supposed to beat Plymouth. We were supposed to beat this one and that one and the other one. And we've really got maybe a couple of points out of all these games that we were supposed to do so well in. The Millwall game, we were supposed to handle that one and beat Millwall. I didn't see a win there either. Did we? So the question becomes now, what are we playing for? Are we on the beach? Are we thinking about next season? Are we thinking about the next football team that we're going to be playing for? Are we playing for the playoffs? I think it's pretty clear we're not playing for the playoffs. I mean, I've told you, and some Watford fans I'm sure have told you, beyond myself, have told you that playoffs are over. And I told you before the season began that Watford would finish 8th. And as we know, 8th place in the championship does not give you a playoff spot. So I've been telling you from before the season began that this team would not make the playoffs. I remember that there were Watford commentators in higher reaches, the BBC and whatnot, saying, oh, Watford are going to finish in the top 6 this season. And they were saying that in October. You can't listen. I mean, maybe I'm being a hypocrite right now, but you can't, because they were playing so well in the early matches and these games, you can't forecast that, can you? I mean, I forecast in July, early July, that this lot would finish 8th. And that's where they are, right around where they are. They're 9th now. How can, I mean, you go on BBC, go on BBC 3CR, go on the BBC website, go back to October or November. You can, and I don't want to say the person's name because I'm not going to do that. I mean, I could, but I won't. But go look it up. They had predictions of top 6s, which our commentators are looking at who's going to finish in the top 6 this season in October, off the back of results in October. I'm sorry, no. Make that prediction before the season begins, because you never can do that during the in-season. I'm sorry. You can't make these predictions in season. You have to stick your neck out on the block before the campaign begins and say, looking at what you got, what is your assessment of where this lot can go? And I'm talking based on what you got in the summertime, because January, you got to throw that out the window. It's not about January. You got to look at what they did in the off season and make your assessments, but you're Mickey Mouse in it, making assessments in October about where they're going to finish in May when you've got a group of games where they might have come through well or fortunate. You can't make predictions that way. And I mean, and this lot are getting paid to make them predictions. I mean, they're getting paid a salary, right, at BBC 3CR to make them predictions. And my goodness me, I'm not getting paid to make my predictions. Anyway, I'm going to go back to what I said. What do you think these lads are playing for? Listen, hit the request button. I really would like to know what fellow Watford supporters think about that. Based on what you've seen now, and you've seen 39 games, what do you think these lads are playing for now, beyond the salary? That's the question I want to put out on the table for the next few minutes, right? For another 5 or 10 minutes or so. See if anybody bites at the opportunity to speak out about this. I'm going to read some YouTube comments, and then I'm going to give you a couple of thoughts about what I've actually been putting forth here, about what I think they're playing for. Matt, thank you, Matt, on YouTube for your comments in advance. I'm going to read these out from Matt. Thank you, Matt, once again. Chakvatazde, Vata, and Pollock, and a few others look more like leaders than Sissoko and Luz are put together. 100%. I agree with you, Matt. And you made these comments about 5 minutes ago, so I want to just put that in context. I'm going to come to the Potso Out Brigade in a few moments' time. Thank you, Potso, for coming in. I'm going to put you on hold for another 5 or 10 seconds while I read out the other comment that Matt made here. Why do I feel, says Matt on YouTube, less stressed when the ball goes back to Selvik than what I do when Backlund was in goal? Selvik seems much more relaxed when the ball comes back to him. He doesn't rush. He looks for the man. I agree. Selvik, even though sometimes Selvik does dance with danger, you never get the feeling that he's going to lose the ball. He's so much more confident. Matt, thank you for those comments. I'm going to go now, as promised, to Potso. I really do appreciate the passion of the Potso Out movement. I really do. And at this point, I'm going to bring Potso Out movement on to have a conversation. And again, you can address the Watford match, you can address the Watford season, or you can really address the comment that I really would love people to address. What do you think these lads are playing for beyond the obvious, which is the salary? Potso Out movement, it's over to you on that question and others. Welcome aboard the You Orns post-match.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Thanks for having me on, Omar. I love your little spaces you do after games. So first of all, just to say thank you to anyone who came along today. We had a little bit of a meet and greet in a local pub, and then we had a walk down to the ground. Let's get on to the game. I said yesterday on another space that I could just see this being a ball draw, and unfortunately I was right. The first half, Plymouth were first to the second ball every time. We didn't look like we were going to create any chances. I don't even remember us having a shot in the first half. If we did, I must have missed it when I went to the toilet. But second half, I think, was better. Let's be honest about it. Bar, when he came on, changed the game for about 20 minutes. But we didn't give Bar the ball enough for me. I mean, it was clear when he came on that he was pumped up. He was dangerous. He had Plymouth worried. But we didn't give him the ball as much as we should have done. So fair play to him. Bayo, I never want to see in a Watford shirt again. That young lad that came on, is it Edwards or something?
Messiah Edwards, yep.
Yeah. Why just play him for the rest of the season? Because the youngsters, the difference between the youngsters and these other idiots that you mentioned a minute ago that aren't playing for anything now, the youngsters will at least play to catch the eye for next season. And that's, for me, what it's all about now. You know, we're not going to get playoffs. I agree with you. I think it's laughable that people even were thinking that we were going to get the playoffs. And I think you touched on this a minute ago, the summer transfer window is where you show your intent for the season. The January transfer window is normally like last throw of the dice for some clubs, i.e. if you're in the relegation zone, you throw the dice and try and get a player or two in to change it. And if you're at the top, you maybe get one or two good players in to send a message out that these players are for next season in the Prem. Watford didn't do anything like that. We don't need to go over the January transfer window. Very, very disappointing, laughable. And dare I say it, I'm in fear for next season. And I do believe that our movement will grow and grow next season if what I think is going to happen happens, and that's Watford will be struggling. And I can't see any money that we raise from Chakvatazde, if he goes out the door, if Loser goes out the door, I can't see much of that being reinvested in the team. I think it will be Udinese rejects and a few freebies and maybe a couple of players that are looking to end their career. And round we'll go. That's really it from me, mate. Thanks very much.
You're most welcome. Pots of Out Movement. Thank you very much for your comments. Really appreciate it. Take care of yourself, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that from Pots of Out Movement, and he answered the question that I was putting forth, which of course is, what are these lads playing for? And I think I absolutely agree with what Pots of Out Movement said, particularly about the youngsters. That's exactly what I think, and that's what I was actually going to get to. I do think that the youngsters are playing for a future at Watford, for an established position at Watford. I do think that they've got nothing to lose, those young lads. But I do think that the other part of this is what the Pots Out movement put forth as well, which of course is the issue of investment. Where is the intent coming from? And what is the intent going to be when you're talking about a team that is what it presently is constituted as, and the situation with money, which we all know about, which has been documented heavily in the Watford Observer by our good man Andrew French and others, but particularly Andrew French has done an excellent job on this at the Watford Observer. And what we know about the bookkeeping at Watford and what's been released or what has not been released about money. What is that going to be? And that is the heart, I think, ultimately, of why you have a Pozzo out movement, is why you have fans discontent at the owner. We're not just discontent because we feel like it. There's very, very good reasons why a sizable number of Watford supporters on social media and off of social media feel the way that we do. I think that we can all really gauge where this could go. And I think that is something to be concerned about for next season. And so, Tom Cleverley's doing the best he can with what he's got. And I do think that point that Pozzo Out movement made does address part of the concern that I have, which is, again, what is the future looking like? What are these lads playing for? Because the other part of this, which I'm going to answer, and you can answer it too, because I really do want to hear what other people, I really would like us all to hear what other Watford supporters think about this. The other part of this is the lads who didn't play well today, them lads who didn't play well, they know they're not going to probably be here next season. They're going to pick up their paycheck. They're going to pick up their wage like everybody is at Watford going to do. They're going to do that. They're thinking about which team they're going to be on next season. That's what I think they're thinking about. Matthew Pollock will be here next season. Selvik, I hope he is here next season. Backman, he returned today on the bench. He's got, what, a 5-year contract? So he's going to be here next season, whether Watford fans like it or not. Quattro Bar's going to be here next season. And he played as if he knows he will be, but he played because he played hard and looked as if he cared, because he does care. I don't know about anybody else. Maybe I'm missing some players. I don't know who else is going to be here next season. And I tell you what, I'm not so sure if they want to be. I know the youngsters look good, and I know they're looking like they care. I think Messiah Edwards would be a great fit to start these games. And with 7 games left, why not play him? I think that Potsdam Out movement talked about that. I think David might have mentioned as well. Why not play these youngsters now? You see, if you're smart and you're in the Watford front office, you should be playing these lads. You should be looking at playing the youngsters. You've got the FA Youth Cup semi-final coming up in the next few days or weeks against City. Good luck to those lads. I tell you what, they showed a lot more fighting spirit in these games than these Watford lads did today in the first team. And you tell me, which of these lads is going to be here next season beyond the ones I've mentioned in this first team? Which ones? Vata cares. I think Vata will be here next season. He cares. He put himself about. I can't think of anybody else apart from Vata and Ngakia, who I thought played decently. Caleb Wiley, I thought played decently. Quadro Bar, obviously. Pollock was here and there, I suppose, but I can't think of too many others. Georgie, to me, flamed out. And again, listen, all these players, pretty much all of them are on the international break, right? Every team had an international break. I'm not going to make excuses for any of these players. Georgie didn't have a good game. Couldn't beat the first man with a corner. Loser couldn't beat the first man with a corner. Didn't have a good game. Let's be fair. It's not about complaining and being negative. They just did not play to the level of their abilities today. And yes, the second half was better, but that's not saying a lot against Plymouth Argyle, bottom of the blooming table. I mean, I don't want to pat myself on the back for saying that. I mean, I'm not trying to have a go at anybody here. But it's true, they were better second half. But I'm sorry, and I'm not saying that people are intending that as a badge of honor, because it's not against a Plymouth side that's rock blooming bottom of the table. And I think have only won one time away this season in the Premier. Oh my God, in the Championship. A Plymouth side who knocked out a Liverpool side that didn't have anybody on it in the FA Cup. I don't think that we should be getting to, and I know no Watford supporter that's come on today has been up and excited and been ranting and raving with excitement about this team's performance today, even the second half. But I do want to say to you, I do want to thank you for listening on X. I'm going to read out the last couple of comments before I go to YouTube. Before I go to Instagram world, at You Orns WFC on Instagram as well. And please subscribe to the You Orns WFC YouTube channel. And I do appreciate your time and your patience. Matt said here, I feel like some of the players are just playing to see what higher club they could get into next season. Matt, thank you for that. You made that comment before. I saw that you made a comment. And I made a comment as well, and I hadn't read what you said. So it just so happens that that I happened to say exactly what you had said, pretty much, but had not seen your comment. So it's kind of, I appreciate the comment, Matt. I really do, because I definitely think that that's what a lot of the lads are doing. And some of them are, because I know that they know their future isn't at Watford, because I think the perception of Watford, Matt, on YouTube is very clear. I think to a lot of the players who come here from other teams, they've seen the structure. Their agents would have told them about the structure. They've done their homework on this side. They've done their homework on the club, on the team structure, on the front office. They've done their homework. And Watford is a pit stop for a lot of these players. And that really does come down to the owner and the attitude that the owner and the tone that the owner sets. So ultimately, yes, the accountability with the owner. All I think I'm concentrating on is, if you're looking at what we already know, the investment is shoddy. The money situation is what that is. And as I said, and as Pottsville said, you can't make these predictions in October. You've got to make them before the season based on what you invested in the off season. And we saw the investment was next to nothing. And we know what it's going to be next season as well in the off season, when the last game of the season kicks off and is put to bed. We know what's going to happen in the off season in the summer transfer market. We know it's going to be the same old, same old. And we know what that's going to be, as Potso Out Movement said. So bottom line is, with what we've got, what are we doing? And with 7 games left, you may as well play the youngsters, because if anybody out there thinks playoffs is here, you got to be out of your mind right now, based on what you're seeing. There's not going to be playoffs for Watford, and I told you that back in July. I mean, really, just be fair. I mean, I understand we can be excited, we can wish for it, but I'm sorry. Just look at the investment or lack thereof. That will tell you the story of how the season's going to unfold. And yes, top credit to Tom Cleverley for doing a really good job. Bottom line, though, is how you invest is how you're going to end up in a business called football. I do want to thank those of you on X for taking part. We're going to continue on YouTube, and we're going to go to Instagram land next at You Orns WFC. Please follow along on both at You Orns WFC on both YouTube and Instagram, and also here on X as well. We'll be back next week for another round of the You Orns Watford FC post-match. It's a tremendous pleasure to have you aboard, Watford supporters. Thank you for listening. Thank you for commenting. And thank you for listening back to this at a later time. It's off the Instagram world next with You Orns Extra on Instagram Live. It is now 3 p.m. in the UK. And I believe, again, just as a reminder, once again, I think you put your clocks forward 1 hour on Sunday morning. So before you go to bed tonight, if I am correct on this, make sure you put your clocks an hour forward. Now, you can go check and research that to make sure that I am accurate. But I believe the UK does put its clock forward 1 hour tonight. So do that, please. You'll get an hour less sleep. And this Watford team will probably give you an hour's less sleep as well, to be fair. But anyway, I do hope you take care of yourselves. Have a good rest of your Saturday and your weekend. And we'll go off to Instagram World next. From here, the final score at the Vic was Watford 0, Plymouth Argyle 0. My name is Omar. Be good, take care of yourselves, and have a good rest of your Saturday and weekend. And until next time, take care and be well. So that's it on on X. Let's go forward now to the likes of Instagram. I want to thank you very much, Watford fans on YouTube, for continuing to follow along with an immensely frustrating game, but really a predictable one, isn't it? When you're playing against a team in the bottom part of the table, in this case, the very bottom of the table, in Plymouth Argyle at home. That's a game you should be winning. But again, woulda, coulda, woulda, woulda, shoulda, right? It doesn't matter, right? You've got to win the game by playing in the game. And Watford did not do what they were supposed to do today. And but the bottom line is that we just don't have the mustard to do this. And we never did have the mustard because we didn't have the horses to begin with, the horses for the courses. And the bottom line is that we're just not good enough. But I think we knew that. I think Watford fans everywhere knew that, because many Watford fans thought that Watford were going down before the season began. So I mean, it's not like Watford fans didn't have concerns about this Watford side. And it might just be the case that those concerns really come forward next season. Maybe next season is the season where Watford start to really have some rough problems. We don't know yet. At least we've got to wait and see what the investment is before we make the prediction. We can make predictions anytime we want, obviously, but we've got to see what the investment is this summer. And if the investment this summer is not commensurate with trying to push forward to build things at this club, then I think we can all have some real concerns about what's going to happen. I'm going to read out some more of your comments on YouTube. Thank you very much indeed. We are on Instagram as well. If you want to join us there, say hello on Instagram. We'll read out your comments there as well. So this is what I want to just put forth here. And let me just read out the comments first. Brown Electron says, Andrews isn't a great defender for me. What would you think about converting him to a winger attacking player? I think that's a great question, Brown. I know you asked the question a little while ago. And again, I'm sorry for neglecting to read out your concern. I agree with you. He is not a very good defender. I think it would be better to convert him into a winger. The only issue I have with that, and that a winger, attacking winger position, is that he does not take on his man at all. I have, and I don't know if you've seen this, Brown, but he does not take on his man. He doesn't. He doesn't go past his man. He ends up stopping before his defender and then passing the ball across or passing the ball back. And I would definitely be on board, Brown, having Ryan Andrews in an attacking wing role, a winger or attacking position, if he had the confidence to take on his man down that right side. Bar can do that, right? When you put Bar in that advanced position as a winger and a forward player on that right side, he takes on his man. He takes on his man. He delivers the ball, he brings the ball up, and he has a go at his defender. And he will attack that flank, and he will attack the space, and he will attack the box. Ryan Andrews doesn't do that, can't do that, hasn't shown that he can do that, isn't that kind of player for me. Now, again, we can try him there, Brown. I'm not saying that we shouldn't try him there. But the reason why I would be a little hesitant to put him there is because he's not yet shown you that he can. I mean, it's trial by fire. I mean, you have to, even if he's not shown us and not shown me that he can get past his man on any regular basis, at some point you got to just throw him into the fire and see if he can do it, 7 times out of 10. And so far, he's not shown that. Maybe he needs more opportunities there. But that's my answer to your question, Brad. I know the answer kind of vacillated from, yes, I'm on board too. Well, maybe not so much. But I do thank you for the question, Brown. And Matt says, today's shot stats shows just how bad we was today. 16 total shots, says Matt. 1 shot on target and 3 big chances taken and 3 big chances missed. Yeah. Thank you, Matt, for your stat contribution there. That is not happy reading, is it now? For any Watford supporter who's followed this team and loves this club dearly, those kind of statistics, and I've not read them other than what Matt's posted. And Matt, I do trust his source, and he's usually spot on with the stats. And so I'm not questioning Matt at all. I do think it's important to verify things. But Matt's somebody who has put forth on a pretty consistent basis reliable information. So I don't have any reason to disbelieve Matt at all. And what Matt's put forth there in the YouTube comments that I've just read out are very consistent with what Watford are doing. And I can tell you this much. At halftime, based on what the Sky commentators said, at halftime, Watford's expected goals today was 0.02. I kid you not. The commentator said Watford's XG, that's expected goals, for the first half of the game today against Plymouth Argyle, bottom of the table, was 0.02. I think that says everything that you could properly and probably reasonably expect. 0.02 XG at home. This is not against Manchester City. This is not against Liverpool or Arsenal. This is not against them sides. It's not against Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or Barcelona. This is not against even Manchester United. This is an XG of 0.02 against rock bottom Plymouth Argyle in the Championship. I mean, I think that should really scream alarm bells. And I really wish I had thought about mentioning the XG. I actually had it in my mind and then got distracted by something else I said. I wanted to bring that up in the X chat that we just did. But look, it's here. And it's here on YouTube and it's here on Instagram. That's an XG, I kid you not. The Sky commentator said an XG in that first half today of 0.02. I mean, that's abominable. It's abominable. You can't justify yourself with that. Even Watford are lucky they got a point today. Let's be fair. They're lucky they got a point. Jack Boddington says hello. Hello, Jack, on Instagram. Great to have you aboard. Nice to see you, Jack. It's been a while. I know I've been on and off on Instagram, and it's great to see you. It's great to see you, Jack. And you're coming in from Australia, where it's what is it now? It's close to 10 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, because we put our clocks forward here in the US. 9 o'clock at night, I think it is there tonight for you, Jack. Or maybe 10 o'clock at night. You tell me what time it is there. I know you're in the western part of Australia in Perth, and thank you for staying up late. Lots going on in Perth and around the whole country of Australia these days, as is here in the US and everywhere else across the world. But thank you for showing up, Jack. And Jack, hello, Omar, says Jack Boddington on Instagram. I want to read out what Jack has to say because it's good to see him. I haven't seen you in a long time, Jack. So thank you for coming on as well. Hello, Omar, says Jack Boddington from Down Under. That was quite the poor performance, wasn't it? Yeah, Jack, it certainly was. I've been talking about it now for a few minutes before you've stopped by. An XG of 0.02, Jack, in the first half. For Watford against Plymouth at home. I mean, and Brown Electron says this, 0.02 would be the XG if I was up front. LOL, so it says a lot. Brown's got some levity about this, and I think we should find the funny side of it, Brown. Thank you for doing that. Because, my goodness me, you got to laugh to keep from crying with this lot now. I mean, that to me was really stark. When I heard that Sky commentator at halftime say that our XG in that first half against that rock bottom side was 0.02. Wow. And that's with the striker that scored 10 goals this season. None of them he has scored since January, by the way. Since that January game where he scored, I forget who it was again. Was it Bristol Rovers or whoever it was? Since then, he's not scored for us. I'm going to repeat this for the 15,000th time. An XG in the first half of 0.02. I wonder what it was for the whole game. I have not looked. To be fair, I've not looked. But at halftime, it was 0.02 against a team that's only won once away all season in the championship, and the team that is going to get relegated. I mean, Plymouth are going down. They're going down. Wayne Rooney didn't do anything with this lot, right? Although he managed to get a point again. Plymouth took 2 points off us this season. A 2-2 draw and a 0-0 draw. Remember, there's the same Plymouth side that we led against twice. And then Andre Gray, formerly of this parish, right, scored twice, including in the very last minute of the game, the last seconds of the game. It's 11 p.m. in Perth. Thank you very much, Jack, for that. Just got home from work. Some player tore their ACL warming up in front of me. It was quite traumatic. I'm so sorry, Jack, to hear that you, A, experienced that, and B, obviously, that the player tore up their ACL warming up. It's a horrible thing. And I mean, knee issues, we all get them when most of us are going to get knee issues when we get to a certain age. And many of us have them before we get to that certain age, right? And even as someone who runs a lot, I do a lot of running, I've had to actually shut that down lately because, you can start to feel, when you start to feel the issues, you kind of have to calm it down a bit and then get back on your horse at another time, which I am going to be doing. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear about that. Someone tore their ACL. Warming up. And I know people who've torn their ACLs doing that, like what Jack said he saw someone do. I know people who have torn their ACL by just walking. I know people who torn their ACLs by going down the steps, just walking, not running, just walking down the steps. So that's another opportunity for me to say, careful with your health. Take care of your knees, really, because your knees are very delicate, whether you're a footballer or not. And Jack, thanks for that, for reminding us about that. And yeah, it is traumatic to see someone's injury like that. You can hear the loud pop. That's what ACL is. You usually hear some loud popping sound, and it just curdles your blood. And so I'm sorry, Jack, that you had to experience that, because because I've heard them pop from the television when a player's gone down on the football pitch with an injury like that. So Jack, thanks for contributing. Really appreciate you, man. And be safe out there in Perth. I know that it's been a heat wave over there the last few weeks. Hope the weather's good to you, because I know recently in Perth it was it was just unbearable temperatures. I know Perth does get hot this time of year. I know. I think you're having your summer now, or you did have your summer, Jack. So you can correct me on that if I'm wrong. But I know Perth gets really hot. But it got really hot the last few weeks. But Jack, thank you very much for your contribution. Matt on YouTube, and feel free to keep commenting if you wish, Jack. Again, I know it's late there, 11 o'clock or so. So, and thank you for that, because I know it's pretty late out there. So you're welcome to keep commenting, or if not, have a good night's sleep. Really, please. You've obviously had a traumatic time there with watching someone get an ACL rip up. It's horrible stuff. I'll come back to Jack in a moment. On YouTube, meanwhile, Matt says 2.01 was the final expected goal rating for Watford. Wow. Thank you, Matt, for the contribution as always. I really do appreciate it, man. I really do. And Brown too as well. Thank you very much as well. Brown says, I've still enjoyed this season 100-fold over last. Yeah, again, I appreciate that, what you're saying, Brown, and it's good that you're finding the more optimistic tones to this. I mean, I'm an optimist by nature. I can barely say it or pronounce it now, so maybe I'm not, but I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist by nature. I really, truly am. I'm also a realist as well, and I can see the funnier side of these things and the more upbeat side, which is what Brown did talk about there, which is that you do say, and anyone can say, I think realistically, that you've enjoyed this season a whole lot more than last. I think if you're going to come on here now and say that you haven't, you'd be really dishonest. I think you just now you really are looking for something to pick at, because the season overall to me has been very good. I said this a few weeks ago here and in other places. The season before was not good for us. This season has been, I think, very good for us. We've learned a lot more about ourselves. The manager is a good fit. The owner is no longer a good fit here. We've established that for several seasons now. But overall, this lot punched way above the ceiling that many of us set for them prior to the start of the season. Now, I felt that they were going to be around where they are now. Again, I like to brag and boast about that. So what? I said 8th, but in July you can go back and you can look, you can listen to the podcast I've done in July and in August. I was talking about 8th place. And they're in 9th currently. They're going to probably go down a bit during the course of the games that are now playing as I speak at the time I'm recording this. But this season, as Brown points out, infinitely better. 100-fold, Brown says. I'm going to say, yeah. And I'm going to say infinitely better than last season. There's no contest. Case closed this season. Any Watford supporter can agree with that safely, I think. Even with 7 games left, even with what we saw today, this season has been tremendously satisfying. No, we didn't win a cup. No, we didn't get into the top 6, and we're not going to break the top 6. But to finish in the top 10 this season with a nothing side, that's immensely satisfying. And we should keep hold of that and keep that perspective as we get through these final 7 games of the season. We have a right, as I have, and as you have, as all of us have as Watford supporters, to register our frustration about a game like today. Because a game like today has happened far too often this season. But when you pull back the camera lens and zoom out from a 35 or 30,000 foot view of this season, it's been blooming good. It's been good. It's been good. And I didn't say that on X, but it's been good. It's been a good season. It's a season of what might have been, what could have been, but it's been a good season overall. And I really would be, maybe not entirely surprised. I would be somewhat surprised. somewhat surprised, somewhat, air quotes. I'm trying to do this on both screens. Somewhat surprised. If there is a Watford fan out there saying this is an awful season, most of you weren't expecting this lot to be in the championship at the end of the season. You can't have it both ways as a Watford supporter. If you are a Watford supporter watching or listening to this, who said that this lot are going to be in a relegation scrap, or who said that this lot are going down, you can't now come back now in what's going to be April in a couple of days' time, 2 or 3 days from now, 3 days from now. What's going to be April, because I'm recording this on March 29th live in 2025. You can't come back in 3 days' time and say, well, this was a horrible season. This was a lousy season. This is a disappointing season. When you were one of the ones who said this lot were going down. At the beginning of the season, you were saying that, some of you. Some of you were saying relegation scrap. Some of you were saying bottom 6. You can't come on now, here in what's going to be April very soon, and say, oh, it's a horrible season. It was lousy. Some people even were going sack Clevs back in January, back in February, back in December, sack Cleverly. Some of them were saying that in November on social media. And there were so many rumors, weren't there, back in January and February that he was gone? And I told you that before this season began, I told you as well that Tom Cleverley would get through an entire season here and not be sacked. Yes, it got a little bit shaky there in January, got a little bit dicey into February, a little bit dicey. But I did tell you this many times before the season began, and you can go look on my social media feed at You Orns WFC. Go look at it. You can search it back to August, back to July, back to August and September. And I told you that he would get through an entire season and not be sacked. And it would be the first time that that's happened in at least 5 seasons, or maybe 6. The last time that a manager got through an entire season and didn't get sacked, a full season, not coming in December and coming through. The last time was Javi Gracia. That's the last manager that went a whole season and didn't get shown the door by the owner of this club. Keep that in mind. Tom Cleverley is going to be only the second manager in that time to do that. That's 6 years. 6 years. Gracia, he got through the whole of 2019, 2018, 19. Well, 2018, he came in at the beginning of against Stoke. 0-0 draw. That was his first game. So that was during halfway through the season. But in 2019, he got through the whole season, that whole year rather, and did not get put out. I don't remember him. Maybe I might be wrong about that, because again, I think he got sacked in September of that. Yeah, maybe. But bottom line is, there was a season that he got through and he didn't get sacked in. Jack Bottom says, very happy. I've been pretty injury-free thus far in my career, playing at a decent level. And yes, it's been 40 degrees the whole week, says Jack, out there in Perth. Yeah, it is so hot there. I know. I listen, I've never been, but I know I do follow global events very closely, and I follow Australia even closer than that. And I know what's going on in Australia with the climate, with everything, sports, politics, you name it, and all the rest. And I know you're suffering out there, Jack. You're suffering, and I hope just stay cool in that heat. 40 degrees Celsius, Blumenack. That's really hot, mate. That's really hot. 40 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees centigrade. Blimey. Yeah, that's a hot one. Joe Dunham says hello, Joe, on Insta. Going to read out your comments. Looking at the updated table, says Matt on YouTube on the BBC Sports website, with the games that are being played now. At the moment, we'll be 9th because Blackburn have just gone down 1-0 to Portsmouth. Wow. Now, is that they've gone down 1-0 because they're playing right now, Jack, Or is it they've just gone down 1-0 because the game is over? I think it's probably because the game is continuing. But you can tell me, Matt, clarify that for the purposes of yours truly and perhaps anyone else who may not be clear. Because if the game's still going on, anything can happen in the game. Blackburn, I've said this a million times about Blackburn, while Matt clarifies that for yours truly and others who might be listening and watching. Blackburn cannot be trusted in a big spot. I've told you that for months about Blackburn. They cannot be trusted. When they were in the top 5 and everyone was saying, oh, Blackburn looked good, I told you, you cannot trust Blackburn in a big spot. They are way too inconsistent. They're even more inconsistent than we are, if that's possible. If that's possible. And bottom line is they cannot be trusted in a big spot, Blackburn. And I'm telling you, they can't. They cannot be trusted in a big spot. I'm looking at the table right now. Sheffield United and Leeds United. Leeds top on 83. Sheffield United then on 83. Boy, that's a fight to the finish, isn't it? Leeds top. You see the 2 United teams, Leeds, then Sheffield United, both on 83. Leeds' goal difference is just flabbergasting. So good. Burnley in 3rd. Sunderland in 4th. Coventry are really doing well. Frank Lampard has done a tremendous job there. They lost their last game, but Coventry have done really well under Frank Lampard. West Brom, 58 points. Bristol City are flying up there now. They're in 7th on 57. Middlesbrough on 55. Then we're on 53. Blackburn on 52 below us in 10th. You cannot trust Blackburn in a big spot. I've told you this over and over again. Yeah, says Jack Boddington, look at Blackburn's manager too. They are bound to crumble. Yeah, Blackburn, they're good for a fold. They've lost 3 in a row. They can't be trusted in a big spot to do anything. I tell you, I know these teams. I watch this stuff. I look at this stuff. I'm not just pulling predictions out I'm not just pulling predictions out the wall, shall we say. Let's keep it like that, shall we? I'm not pulling predict. I know what I'm talking about because I've looked at this stuff. Blackburn cannot be trusted in a big. They're below us. So this nonsense about, oh, Blackburn are looking dangerous, and you can't go by that. You've got to look at the trends. I've looked at Blackburn for the last 3 years. They are hit or miss. They win games and lose games like everyone else. They went nearly a whole season without a draw. Last season, they drew like 3 games. They were win, lose, win. They're just a yo-yo team. They're not going anywhere. I tell you, if I'm Watford, I like our season better than Blackburn's. And you know why? We kept a manager for a full season. We achieved a measure of stability there. The injuries hurt us badly this season. They hurt a lot of clubs, don't get me wrong. But the injuries have hurt us badly this season. Goalkeeper's been out, and I know a lot of Watford fans don't miss the particular goalkeeper in question. He returned today to the bench. Right? And Albona has had an illness. He's out. Kevin's out. Right? Doumbia, who was brilliant this season in the short time he's been here, he's out. Dwoma, he's out. He's going to be coming back soon. We think. Barr had been out for 3 months. He's back. Right? Injuries have killed us this season. Suspensions have killed us too. Abankwah was suspended, right? He didn't play today. I didn't mention his name until now. Abankwah suspended. He'll be back next game. Bio suspended. He was missed, 3 or 4 games. Sissoko suspended. He missed 3 or 4 games. So we lost a load of players to suspension and injury. I'm not trying to cry boo-hoo or play my Stradivarius. I'm not trying to do that, right? I'm not trying to play the violin. But I'm just stating the fact. So with what Brown said earlier, it's a blooming good season. It's a good season, despite the frustration of some of these games. We went 17 unbeaten. I think we've all forgotten that now, that we were 17 unbeaten at the Vic. It's a blooming good season. Got to remember that. Got to remember that. I know after the game, in the heat of the game, and based on what you heard me saying earlier here on YouTube, and I know for those of you on Instagram, you didn't hear it, but you go watch the YouTube channel or go back to watching X at You Orns WFC and listen to that post-match. Time and perspective are very important. I've got to remind myself of that. I am someone who does think about that, and we should have a go at this lot when they don't do well. That first half today was abominable. 0.02 XG, really? First half against the bottom of the table side that's going way down. They're going League One next week, basically. They're literally 3 more games away from sealing their fate in League One. So yeah, there's plenty to be not happy about. Got an owner who continues to sink this team, this first team, and then blames it on Tom Cleverley. Keeps blaming it on managers. The sun's shining here in San Francisco, by the way, but it's not shining on that owner. Huge. Well done, Joe Larkin on Instagram. And Jack Boddington says they aren't doing much under Valerian Ismail either. So is it Blackburn? So I didn't even know Blackburn has. That's right. Blackburn do have Val Ismail as their manager now. Yeah. Joe Larkin, hello to you. You Orns. Well done, mate. All over them second half. How did we not score? I know, Joe, on Instagram. How did we not score? But I do want to put a damper on it. We were all over them second half. But you know why we didn't score? Not only did we lack quality, it's also because we put ourselves in that position when we played a crap first half. I mean, that's why we didn't score. We played a crap first half, and that laid the foundation for why we didn't do anything in the second. Because all too often, and this is not to Joe specifically, this is to everybody now. All too often, this is what we do. This is what we do. Play a first half that is terrible and absolutely abominable, and then play a second half where we're playing for our lives. And we leave it all to do in the second half, don't we? Football matches don't get one like that. No. You can bet the ranch on it. You can bet the mortgage on it. You can throw your money in at Coral, at William Hill, at any of them bookies. Ladbrokes, if it's still around. Whatever the bookie is. I'm sorry. The game don't get one like that. Not when you don't do a part of my language. You don't do a blooming thing in the first half. And then in the second half, you just expect to rock up and then start throwing the heavy artillery like they're going to fold. If they defended the way they did in the first half, what makes you think they're not going to defend the same way in the second half? That team's fighting for its life. I'm sorry to get back to this again after what Brown said earlier, but I'm sorry. That team's bottom of the table. They had more fight today for a lot of that game in the first half than we did. Now, second half, we had a lot of fight, and we should have absolutely turned that lot over. But they're defending for their lives. Plymouth Argyle. That was their motivation today. Hello, Alex Fortuna 94. How are you doing? Season's over now anyway, so the result didn't really matter, Joe. Joe Larkin says on Instagram. You know, Joe, respectfully, I take a bit of issue with that because I would say that the season's been over for about 2 months. Quite frankly, I'd say it's been over since late December when they started losing all them games in a row at Vic. The season's been over since basically January of this year. I respect your opinion. I respect everybody's opinion. I respect my own opinion too. And but this is maybe the first time I've ever disagreed with Joe Larkin on anything as far as Watford's concerned. The result does matter, though. I mean, I know what you're saying, Joe, because the playoffs are done, and I've told you, and you know this from me. I said this back in July and August, July of last year, pardon me, that they were going to finish 8th. They're in 9th right now, and then Matt, thank you for the comment. They're playing right now. Portsmouth 1, Blackburn 0. 30 minutes played. That was about 10 minutes ago, I think, that Matt posted that. So things may or may not have changed. I'll have to go take a look at that myself as well. But Matt has got us there with the latest score. Thank you, Matt. Portsmouth 1, Blackburn 0. Blackburn are out of this. Watford are out of this. And I agree that the season's over, but the result does matter. It mattered to Plymouth. So why, if it matters to Plymouth and they're bottom of the table for obvious reasons, it matters to them, why wouldn't it matter to us? The result matters. When you got an XG first, again, I'm not having a go at Joe here. I'm just saying this generally. I just want to amplify this for everybody, right? When you have an XG in the first half of 0.02, the result matters. You finish with an XG, according to Matt, of 2.01 against a team that's bottom of the table, a team that, is going down. They're going to get relegated. That result matters today. 0-0 against a side that's going down to League One. That result matters. So, I mean, that's, and I feel very strongly about that. But Joe, I respect the opinion, and I hear what you're saying. I mean, I tell you what I would say about the comment that you made. The players probably felt this way. What you're saying there in your comment there, Joe, is probably what some of these players today who played like a bunch of you-know-what out there first half, that's probably what they were thinking. What your comment indicates is probably their mindset. The result don't matter. We're not going to get relegated here. Season's over. Kick up your feet. Get on the beach. We can go on a Butlins trip. We go to Butlins. You have a Butlins trip. I mean, this is what this was today in the first half for us. Absolute Butlins special. It really was. And that's not how we should be playing these games. We should be playing, and the season is over in the respect of playoffs being over, but the season still has 7 games to play. And if you're going to just peter out these remaining 7 games with no fight on you, shame on you, right? If you're a player and you're going to just go on the beach these next 7 games, you shouldn't be here. I don't think Tom Cleverley is going to tolerate that. I don't think he's going for that. I'm going to just put my feet up. I do like to be beside the seaside. Is that what we're going to do the remaining games? Put our feet up on the beach, make some sandcastles? That can't be the way we do this, because what you do at the end, the final games of the season, might well have an effect on how investment runs or doesn't, and how you start next season. You want to go into any off-season playing good, fighting football. That's what you want to do. They showed a real fight second half. They battered this lot. Plymouth were very resilient, and fair play to them, because they know they got nothing to lose, because they're going to go down. Next 2 or 3 games, that will be confirmed, right? But the thing from a Watford perspective is this. You have to set a template for these remaining games. It is so much better to play these remaining 7 games, including this one as the 8th game that's now 0-0, finished 0-0 today. You want to play them games. It's so much better to play them games with some fight and spirit and good football. Give the managerial lot an assessment of what you're doing so that they can invest in the right places. So much better to do that with games that many Watford supporters might consider meaningless than it is to play these games and just not show any real heart until the second half. If we had shown the kind of fight in the first half today that we showed in the second, we would have won this game. And I understand it. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. But really, when it comes to football, it is how you start. Because how you start dictates how you might well finish. And I'd rather start this first half today the way that we started our second half than start the first half so poorly and then try to do everything in the second half. I don't think that works. That's not really worked for us this season, let's be fair, right? There's been a couple of games where we played so terribly first half and then went gangbusters second, and we got a win out of it. Maybe 2 games. but that's not a recipe overall for success. It's not a recipe for success. If you're going to batter down their door second half, but you played like a dog's dinner first, I'm sorry. I can tell you right now, mate, that's not going to get you winning football. And more often than not, you're going to be frustrated. So I only just say all of that just to say that the result matters. It really does. It does. And I tell you what, the way you play matters as well. And we've been playing like this all season long. So when I was on X earlier and here earlier on YouTube, talking about how there were some BBC 3CR commentators on the BBC website back in October and November of this season, maybe even September as well, talking about, Watford, where do you think they're going to finish? I'm predicting sixth in the top six, and I'm predicting sixth. You can't make them kind of predictions during the season. You have to make them before the season begins based upon the investment that's been made. Because January, you can't make them either, because January is a stopgap measure to try to amplify what you did in the off season back in the summer. So, you can't make them. That's why I was laughing at that. I'm seeing these predictions of 6th and 5th in October and September off the back of some good results. Make them predictions before the season starts. Sorry about that on Instagram. Oh my gosh. Getting carried away here. Sorry about that. Oh my dear. I just kind of knocked myself off Instagram. Sorry about that, mate. Sorry about that. Make them predictions before the season. Okay. Maybe I'm being the bad guy here. I'm sorry. You just because listen, I made a prediction about 8th place back in July and August. July. And I kept repeating the prediction all season. They're in 9th right now. They might go to 10th. They might stay in 9th. They're going to finish right there in 8th. They're going to finish 8th. Again, I'm not going away from that. They're going to finish right there. They really are. It's easy to make predictions after you've seen the games. You've got to make the predictions when you're seeing the investment and you're seeing the manager that you got, and you got to see what that's like, right? And off the back of last season, I had enough information off the back of the end of last season with Klebs in there that this was going to be a better campaign for Watford. And it has been frustrating at times, but it's been a much better campaign. Matt says on YouTube, some of the players today looked like they were ready for their trip in their very own yellow submarine. Says Matt, laughing emoji there on the end of his message on YouTube. Yeah, it did seem like that, didn't it? We all live in the yellow submarine, the yellow submarine, the yellow submarine. Oh, in the yellow submarine. Good job there, Matt. Loving it, loving it. It did look like that. What's it going to look like next time out? I forget who they play next. What is it going to look like next time? I mean, is it going to be Puff the Magic Dragon? Oh, dear. For those of you who don't know that reference, please look it up. Steph Bez has joined us on Instagram. Thank you, Steph. I do hope that you're well and that things are going well. Obviously, today didn't go well for us. I mean, we should have got 3 points. Actually, I don't think we should have got 3 points out of this game. I'm going to correct myself there. We should have done better, is what I will say, which is probably the same way as saying we should have got 3 points, but it's actually not, because we should have done better. When I say that, we should have done better with our performance, right? Just because I say we should have done better doesn't mean I'm saying we should have won. We should have played better than we did. That's what I'm saying. Oh, dear. A couple more minutes, and I'm going to say good day to you. It is 3:45 now. in the United Kingdom. And I believe you are putting your clock forward 1 hour tonight. Just a reminder, if that is the case, please make sure that you do not forget to put your clocks forward 1 hour. I believe it is tonight. It might be next weekend, but I believe it's tonight for you in the UK. So make sure that you do not forget to put your clock forward 1 hour. If indeed, and I have not checked, if indeed it is 1 hour forwards for you tonight, don't forget to do that. You do lose 1 hour of sleep. One last thing I do want to say, and it might be 2 hours of sleep with the way with Watford today, but I do want to say one other thing. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. Adi Boothroyd, the former Watford manager, remember he brought us into the Premier League. You may remember that in 2006. Announced earlier this week that he had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Now, there is no cure at the moment for Parkinson's disease. There has been a campaign on Watford's social media channels where they played the video from Adi Boothroyd's interview, where he spoke at length about Parkinson's. And for those of you who know someone with Parkinson's, perhaps someone in your family, for those of you who may have Parkinson's, keep fighting on and keep living strong. I know that it's a very challenging condition, and we have to get a cure for it. I want to send my best wishes to anyone in the world who has Parkinson's, and anyone in the world who knows someone who has Parkinson's, and to Adi Boothroyd as the former Watford manager, who is going through that himself now. It's that interview that Adi Boothroyd did. It's about 11 or 12 minutes long on video that you can watch. I think Watford on X, Watford FC on their socials put that out there. Certainly on X they did. I think a day or two ago. So this is Saturday. So I think on Thursday or Friday, I think on Thursday, March the 27th, 2025, for those of you who watch this later, you can go, I think that was the day that Watford FC on X posted the announcement about Adi Boothroyd. And you can click on a link and there's an 11-minute video on. I think everybody needs to watch that. I really do. And excuse me. And I need to, put forth that there is a hotline, I think, on dealing with, for those who have Parkinson's. Health is so important, and we just need to find a cure for this. And I know it's a bit more of a serious note, but I did want to mention that because that was something that I saw this week, and I've not been here with you for 2 weeks. I also want to add to that, and again, so my best wishes and wholehearted support to anyone who has Parkinson's or who knows someone who does, and or who, if you have this, and also to Adi Boothroyd as well, the former Watford manager. And I also want to say congratulations to the partner of Matty Pollock, and to Matty Pollock as well, on the birth of their child this week or last week, I think. And I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl or not, but I just want to say thank you, Watford Football Club, for the nice messages they put out about that too. That's really good. And again, to the partner of Matty Pollock, congratulations. I hope you're doing well. And also, Matty, I hope you're doing well. I hope everybody is fine, and that your new bundle of joy provides you endless happiness. And I'm sure that your new bundle of joy will do that. And I'm very happy for you both. I'm happy for all of you, for all three of you. I'm very happy for you, for this new life in the world. And that goes for anyone who has a newborn, anyone who has just given birth. Again, wonderful. Congratulations. I really, really mean that. So allow me to, just to kind of go off topic there and end this You Orns post-match on X and on Instagram in a different kind of place. Excuse me, different kind of place. As the sun shines brightly here in San Francisco, California. Blue sky here. I hope that the sky is blue wherever you are. And I hope that the sun is shining in your heart. If it's not shining outdoors, get out there and connect, have fun, live it up. Be careful out there too. Let's not overdo it, but have a good time out there. I'm going to read out some of your comments on on YouTube, pardon me. The ones I haven't read out because I've just been grossly negligent in not doing so and grossly neglectful. And I apologize about that. I do want to thank those of you on Instagram as well for chiming in as well. And I appreciate the comments as always. All of you who comment here from a Watford perspective are very much welcome. Anybody's welcome, but specifically Watford fans, though, because that's really the base that we talk to as fellow Watford supporters. Brown Electron said, we've definitely failed in the striker department this season. And these are comments I'm reading out from about 20 minutes ago, so I apologize again. Brown says, we've definitely failed, says Brown on YouTube, in the striker department this season. Could you imagine this team with a Kevin Phillips, a Helgeson, Danny Graham, or even a Marvin Sordell type? Oh, my goodness me. Those are some really good calls there from you, Brown. That is just yeah, exactly. Just imagine what this team might have been with any one of those lads that Brown mentioned. Kevin Phillips, forget it. We'd be promoted by now, probably. We'd certainly be in the top six. Helgeson, oh my goodness, Haidar Helgeson, blimey, that's another good. And Marvin Sordell, yeah. Danny Graham, Mr. Reliable. I mean, these players all found the back of the net. You know, they all knew where the back of the net was. So good call there, Brown. Good call. Brown says our goal before we start next season is sign a Banquer. This guy is a game changer. Yeah, that's another good comment there from you, Brown. As always, we really appreciate your contributions. A Banquer, of course, was missing through suspension today. He'll be back next time around. Watford, says Matt, their next game is Bristol City away on Saturday the 5th at 3 p.m. Thank you for that, Matt. And I know you made the comment a few minutes ago now, but thank you very much indeed for that. So that will be away against Bristol City. The Bristol City are ahead of us in the table at the minute. They are barking up the table there, Bristol City. They've found some consistency, and that's what you have to have in this league. They're in 7th on 57 points. You know, you have to find consistency in this league. If you want consistency, you've got to be consistent. You've got to find consistency. Simple as that. So that's where we are at the minute. I'm going to read out some of the final scores today. And look, the bottom line is Luton Town is still in the bottom three. You know, they did win today, but they beat Hull away from home. But they are still in a world of trouble, and I still think they're going down. Plymouth are going to go down. Derby County in the bottom three as well right now. But let me read out the results today thus far, what we've got so far. I read out the one with Hull and Luton. Of course, you know our result. Burnley up 1-0 at half-time against Bristol City. These are all half-time scores at the minute, unless I say otherwise. Burnley 1, Bristol City 0. Cardiff 1, Sheffield Wednesday 0. Leeds 1, Swansea City 0. Middlesbrough 0, Oxford United 1. There you go. There you go. Middlesbrough losing at home so far against Oxford, who we lost to 2 weeks ago. Norwich 0, West Brom 0. That's an important result for West Brom. That's not a result. That's an important scoreline for West Brom, obviously. They desperately need to stay in that top six. And it's 0-0 right now. Portsmouth 1, Blackburn 0. That's a half-time. Those are all half-times. Stoke 2, QPR 0. And Sunderland 1, Millwall 0. Those are your halftime scores before we move on. Of course, the games in April come starting on Wednesday in the Championship. Blackburn against Middlesbrough on April the 4th is the one to look at. For any of you Watford fans who believe Watford still have a chance at playoffs, Watford will be at Bristol City, as Matt said earlier. So that is it. Again, I want to read out the table as well, the few table comments, the table from the top 10. Leeds, right now, they're continuing to play. They're on 83. Sheffield United on 83, but their goal difference not nearly as good as Leeds. Burnley winning at the moment. They are on 81 points in third. Sunderland also winning at the moment. They are in fourth on 72. Coventry on 59. Then it's West Brom on 58. Then in seventh place, it's Bristol City on 57. Middlesbrough on 54. Watford on 53. And Blackburn Rovers are going to be on 10th place at the minute on 52. Those are your top 10 in the championship. You know what the bottom is. I've told you, Derby, Luton, and Plymouth rock bottom on 34 points. Wow. If Watford could have won this game today, they would have helped themselves. They would have. But again, we've had this all season long. Cannot get over the hump. I do want to say thank you again, and thank you for your immense patience on this edition of the You Orns post-match today. I want to read out some more comments on YouTube before setting sail. Thank you very much, Richard Lees, for coming aboard today. Really appreciate it. Afternoon, Omar, says Richard. And he says this, should be doing better. Plymouth wanted it more and be happy with a point. Luton, 38 points beating Hull. Yeah, I know. Isn't that interesting, Richard? Thank you. Good afternoon to you. You know, isn't that interesting, Richard, that you point that out? Because again, we did not get past Hull this season, did we? I think we might still have to play them in the return leg at the Vic. I'm not sure if we played them or not at the Vic. We might have done. But we did not get past them away from home, did we? We got a 0-0 draw there, a 1-1 draw there. We were very lucky to get that. We were trailing in the 87th minute or so against Hull this season before Rocco Vata scored the goal that gave us the equalizer. That was one of the 2 or 3 games this season where we played in our purple shirts. I love those purple shirts. But my goodness me, we only played in them 3 times and we didn't win any of the games that we played them in. And then the black shirts that we played in, we have not won in any of the games. So, you know, I think that those 2 shirts can be retired safely for next season because I know that we're not going to play in them again for at least 2 or 3 more seasons. Yeah, that's how they do the, with the kit rotations of the colors. There'll probably be a red kit, a red away kit next season, if not the season after that. You know, we'll probably have a white kit next season somewhere. You know, that's how these teams get rotated. Or we might have even a green kit next season, not the goalkeepers, but some kind of green kit. But Richard Lees is, and I agree with you, Richard. You know, I mean, we should be doing better. We should be doing better. And I know that, and I think the season's been very good because most Watford fans did not expect where we are right now. And it's kind of a symbol of how good Clevs has been for the most part. He's been brilliant this season. It's kind of a tribute to how good he's been that we are complaining that it should be better, right? Because we are punching above. And I don't like the term, but I use it anyway. We are punching above our weight. But that's a tribute to the manager and some of the players who want it. Today, the players didn't want it. And I think Rich is right. The players didn't want it. Not as much as Plymouth did. As I said earlier, Plymouth defended for their lives. Plymouth were desperate. Plymouth came in there like they had their lives dependent on it. We came in there thinking, oh, you know, we'll just turn up second half. Don't happen like that. Don't happen like that. You got to bring the mindset from minute 1 to minute 97 because the game went into 97th minute today. We got to bring the mindset from minute 1 to minute 97 that we're going to batter this lot in front of us and we're going to play some good football. I don't care if the squad's depleted or not. You got to find a way. It's the championship. It's 46 of these things. And there are other teams with their squads depleted and they got injuries and they got suspensions and they got this and that. We can't say they're feeling sorry for ourselves. It's been a good season. I mean, listen, I'll say it right now. I said it several weeks ago. It's been a good season for Watford. Yes. Now, it depends on how you define a good season. If you define a good season as playoffs, then it wasn't a good season. If you define a good season as finishing 8th, because I predicted 8th, or at least finishing the top 10, it's a good season. 17 unbeaten at the Vic. That's a good season. 17 games at the Vic unbeaten. That dates back, to be fair, to last season as well. But I'm sorry, that's a good run. And how dare the owner even contemplate the notion of sacking this manager who has brought back the fan base and closed that gap between the players and the fans. He's closed the gap right back to this so that we're here. We're here, we're there, we're there. It's as thick as we're tight like this now between the players and the fans. And then the owner was even floating the idea of getting rid of Clevs. Not this. We're not going to take that here. And I think the Potso Out movement, who chimed in on X earlier, had the right attitude about this. Watford versus Hull, says Matt, is on Tuesday the 8th at 8th of April, that is, at 7:45 p.m. Thank you for that. So I wasn't sure. I figured that they hadn't played the return leg yet, but thank you, Matt, for that. Thank you, says Matt again, for another great chat, Omar, about the team we love, even after the draw. Matt, thank you for your comments as always. Thank you for being one of the great regulars that we have here. As long as you continue to do that, I really appreciate it. And of course, Brown Electrons as well. Thank you for being a great regular here on the YouTube broadcast post-match, and to every other regular too, including Joe Larkin and all the others, Jack Boddington and others across on, of course, on Instagram. Thank you so very much. It is now it is, I should say, to be precise, 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the United Kingdom. Thank you again. The final score again today, the early afternoon kickoff, was Watford 0, Plymouth Argyle 0. That is the second or third 0-0 draw we've had this season at the Vic. I remember the one against QPR at the end of November. And here now, at the end of March, is another 0-0 draw. I think we might have had one other one this season as well, at least at home I'm talking about. Anyway, that is it for now. Watford 0, Plymouth 0. Watford in 9th at the moment, and the half times will become full times in the games that are being played as I recorded this live on the 29th of March. We'll see you again soon. That would be this coming Saturday, next Saturday, that is, against Bristol City away from home. Happy travels to everybody. Be safe, be well, and be healthy, and be the best that you can be. Take care, be safe, be well. And at the end of it all, we are Watford supporters, and we love this club, and we love the team, and we love the women's team, the men's team. We love all these teams. Best of luck to the Watford men in the Youth Cup. That is the FA Youth Cup coming up in the next few days or weeks. And also best of luck to the Watford women as well. I think they play tomorrow at the Vic, if I'm not mistaken. They play at some point this Sunday, I think it is. But take care, everyone. And Richard, thank you very much as well. Catch up with you again. Good to catch up with you again as well, Richard. You Orns, take care now. And until next Saturday, I'm Omar saying, You Orns. Take care and be well.